Hola.
Hi.
Bienvenidas a Super Mamás.
Super Mamás.
This is Paulina.
And this is Bricia.
We're new moms.
We're sisters.
I have a baby girl and a teenager. Yes, a 3-year-old teenager.
And I have a beautiful baby boy at home.
And as you can imagine, we have so much to share. We hope you guys enjoy the show. Okay, ¿listas?
Here we go.
Hi guys, this is Paulina. I'm still in Mexico with the girls. I cannot wait to come back and tell you all about it. But meanwhile, listen to the podcast that my sister and I recorded with our girlfriend, Betsy Cardenas, who comes to talk about how to overcome an unexpected challenge while having a newborn. She's so inspiring, and I know you guys will enjoy this show. See you when I come back.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. I should say I was about to die right now.
I don't know. My sister's been under the weather,
Yeah.
but she's getting better.
Yeah. I guess. Well, but the show must go on.
The show must go on. How's everybody doing today?
Everybody's doing well, better than me with this heat and sick. It's horrible.
I know.
I'd rather get sick like on the winter. That way I can just stay at home. You know what I mean?
With two kids?
Under the cobijas.
With two kids?
You're right.
Yeah,
Doesn't
I don't
matter.
I don't think that will ever exist anymore. You
That
know, like,
sucks.
right? When you get sick and it's like just you and you can just like be on your own, like watching a movie, and then everything's about you. Like, can I bring you something to eat? Can I get you like a cold, like like a hot soup, or you know, like take a long bath, like that?
Yeah.
That will never.
No.
That's why, you know, like, pobrecita de mamá, when she would get sick, like, no one really care. Like,
Oh my
you
God.
just can't get sick when you're a mom. It's not like
No,
I'm calling
no.
off work today. I'm not getting
No. You know that the first day that I lost my voice? 'Cause
Uh-huh.
I went home with the kids, and Krista wouldn't listen to me. And I couldn't say it. I was like, you know? And she wouldn't listen to me. And I was like, oh my God, I wish somebody would take them right now. Can I just be quiet and just, but I was forced to talk because she wouldn't listen to, you know, she was like, ¿qué? Say it again. She thought it was funny. She would try to make me talk more than I had to.
What did she say? What did she say to you? Tu mamá, tu boca no
Yeah,
sirve?
she was like, mami, tu boca no funciona. And I was like, no, it doesn't. Nah. And she was like, do it again. Like she thought I was making it up. Like, oh my God, it's so funny. Let me hear it again, Mom. And I was like, it hurts. But yeah, so I hadn't had a break, but it's all right.
You'll never have a break. I'm sorry.
Ever. I cannot force my voice too much right now. Oh my God.
Anyway, so how are you besides almost dying?
I mean, good. You know, everything is going. You know, Sabina's finally is going down easily. I just, you know, I just see that she has to take a shower every night though.
Oh yeah,
In the
my baby
sink,
too.
whatever. Just shower, and then she already knows she's rubbing her eyes. I'm like, okay, sweetie, go to sleep.
I don't let my baby rub his eyes. Like, I don't let it get to that point.
No, I think like it's a cue. Like she takes a shower and then she rubs her eyes.
Oh.
That's like, oh, okay, it's time to go to sleep. So then I put her down and I'm like, okay, good night. And I just put her down and that's it. Like she goes to sleep and then I have time to go and spend more time with Krista. And you know how I was like suffering that, oh my God, Krista, you know, needs more attention, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I did the whole thing with Sabina. But the other day I put her down. I went to Krista's room. Krista was waiting for me. I read her a book. And then I was like, let me cuddle with my baby girl. I hug her and she's like, Mommy, can you please not hug me? And then I was like, what?
No.
What? I was like, what? And I was like, okay. And then she turned around again and I put my hand on top. She's like, no, like, quita tu mano. She was like, quita tu mano, mami. No quiero tu mano. And oh my God.
No.
Yes. I was like, what am I doing? Like, I felt so bad after that, and I've been just thinking about that lately. Like,
I don't even want to think about.
I know.
No.
You know, I was like, where have I been all this time? Like, what have I been doing? Like, what happened? Like,
You're like a needy girlfriend.
I think so. But I was like, you know, like, let me give you a hug. Like,
Love
come
me.
on.
Pégame, pero no me dejes.
Yeah, and no, she was like, no. And then I started realizing, like, damn, I'm kind of glad that this happened, like her acting out on me, because now I'm like, I need to like take it back and be here with her, because she's growing up so fast. Like, you know, everybody says that they grow up, but she really is growing up really, really fast. I remember last year when she started preschool. This is her last year of preschool, and it's going to go by just as fast as last year.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And then that's it.
And then you have a grown kindergarten.
And then I have a kindergarten.
Then she's not a little like kid anymore.
She's not a little kid. Like right now, even on the clothes or on the shoes, it says little kid. And then once they're there, like no more little kid. Like that's it. Like, you know, they're grown. And I was like, I need to just look at her more, or hug her more, or kiss her more, because I feel like one day she's really not gonna. She still tells me like, I love you, you know.
Yeah.
But then imagine when she goes to like first grade, second grade, and she's gonna be like, Mom, love you? What? No.
Oh no, that's never gonna happen to me. Ever.
So
I'm going through this whole. I'm going like the opposite. I am going through this whole like love spell with my son. Like, it's like I don't even know if it's normal. And like I've asked a couple girlfriends who have, you know, boys, if I'm like, okay, like, is it normal that I want to make out with my son? Like, is it normal that like I just like totally just like really like want to like make out with him? Like I'm like I'm like totally like spellbound. Like I feel like, and then we have these staring contests, right? I don't even know if it's like a good thing or a bad thing, but like he stares at me and then I stare at him back, and I feel like he's like digging deep into my soul, you know? And I'm just like, it's like he's like putting a spell on me, and I'm like, okay, come here, let's make out. Don't let daddy see us, you know? And then like him and I have this like 10 minutes every day when I go to his room, I pick him up from his crib, I bring him to bed with me, I breastfeed him, give him his breakfast. And after he's done eating, I burp him, and him and I have this moment together when, you know, daddy is getting ready to go to work, and it's just him and I, and it's just I don't look at my phone, nothing. It's just him and I. Yeah. And it's feel like that's like our love connection. I feel like
definitely.
I feel like at that point, like it's like I don't know. It's like nothing in the world matters. It's just him and I. I'm like completely like I'm telling you, I feel like one of those, you know, like I'm gonna be like a needy girlfriend. Like, look at me, like to kiss me, like, you know. Yeah. It's just crazy.
I feel you. I mean, that's kind of the reasons why I'm like, I want to have a boy. I want to know what that's, because every girlfriend that I have that has a boy is like, no, but it's so different because you love them. And I was like,
I asked mom though, and she said it was the same with all of us.
My best friend has a boy and a girl, and she doesn't say that. She says that it's different.
But then again, Fernando breastfed until he was like 4 years old.
Yeah.
And mom's like, we were one, and she's like, I'm done with you guys, but Fernando, you can keep breastfeeding.
Mom says that, but remember, she always says that she would stare at him for hours in bed. Yeah. Just him and her. And where were we?
Obviously she was probably thinking about you. Me, I was just like lost somewhere and like in the mud without any food, just
con
like
las
hormigas eating poop. We did eat Fernando's poop.
We did eat Fernando's poop.
Eat Fernando's
That's
poop
a true story.
out of his crib. We're like, frijoles. They're like, ugh.
Yeah, we did. Remember? Oh my God.
I don't remember.
He put a spell on us for life. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, like, so that happened, and then a couple of days ago too, though, I had like this like moment that like I like fell apart. And it was so weird. Like, it was so weird. And I honestly, I was fine. And all of a sudden, like, I don't know what happened. It was like a matter of second. I like broke down. I like began to cry. And my husband looked at me and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I have so much going on. And then, like, this whole pumping thing, it's like, it's spiraling out of control. Like, you know, like, I'm out of breast milk in the freezer. And I'm just like, it totally broke down. And he was like, where did this come from? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, one of my girlfriends came to visit, and her and I had a baby at the same time. And then spoken to her for a while. And she told me that she left her job and now she's a stay-at-home mom with the baby. And I think I just felt like a sense of like jealousy.
Yeah, I feel
envious.
you. I feel you.
And I was just like, I don't know, like, am I like missing out on, like, you know, like those times with the baby? Like, I remember when he first rolled over, like, I wasn't there, and like I came home. I'm just like so weird. And I came home and I was, and you know, they, and Doña Elena told me, and I started crying. What am I doing? You know? But then, like, I mean, my husband's just like, it's okay. Like, one day at a time, you know, like all these things kind of come at you at once. And, the next day I woke up, I'm fine. Okay, I'm fine. Look at me. I'm crying, right? And I just, you know, I got to take it one day at a time. Being a mom can get like so overwhelming. And that's a little bit what we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
We have a great guest for you guys to come. Betsy, our friend's going to be here to tell us her story. So we're going to come back with Betsy and we're going to hear a little bit about who she is. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
And we're back. I had to take a little moment there for myself.
I get you. I feel the same.
I know.
I feel the same.
Well, today we're actually going to talk about that.
I know.
Because our guest became a stay-at-home mom by default.
Yeah.
It was not of a choice. Let me read her bio for a second. So Betsy Cardenas is a writer, community relations professional. She is also an advocate and has an extensive political career working for organizations and causes that she cares about. Most notably, Betsy worked on a presidential campaign in Iowa and generated support for legislation in D.C. and Sacramento to support of women and working families. Betsy has written about mental health, careers, motherhood, and millennial parenting trends for a variety of publications, including Forbes, The Muse, Mommyish, and Mom.me. She serves on the LA leadership team for Binder Con. She was the first person in her family to graduate from college. She earned her degree in political science at Cal State Northridge. She's raising a family in East Los, and she believes that failure is essential to success, which is amazing because I'm failing at being a mom, apparently. So I'm on my way to success. Welcome, Aimee.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Betsy Aimee. I don't know if I should call you
Betsy.
Betsy.
Just Betsy.
Okay, Betsy.
Just Betsy. Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for creating this amazing platform. There's so much power in women sharing stories.
Yeah.
And I've been enjoying every single episode and have been inspired and have learned something from each episode.
Thank you.
So I'm just so really honored that you all invited me to be on.
Oh my God.
Thank you. So thank you.
I when we met and you told us your story, I was like, this girl has to come in and share with everybody because I am sure you're not the only person out there that has gone through this.
Yeah.
And the article that you wrote that was called The Stress of Being Laid Off with a Newborn Made Me a Better Mom. I mean, just the title itself, I was just like, what?
I know.
And I read it and I was like, girl, I am good. Like, you know, it's like sometimes, like I was saying earlier, like you just get overwhelmed by everything.
Yeah.
But then like you have to stop and think like, how blessed am I to have a healthy baby, number one.
Mm-hmm.
So everything else is just manageable.
Yeah, I think one of the things I I've learned since becoming a mom is really that happiness is not really about what's happening outside of you. It's really a lot about your state of mind and how you process things that happen to you, because the reality is that you know, we don't have anything guaranteed. We don't have our jobs guaranteed. We don't have anything. And I think that's very scary. But I think once we embrace that and we accept the uncertainty of life, I think that we can accept whatever comes to us. And so I think what happened to me is that I had been, you know, obviously very dedicated to my career and my profession. And I definitely, I loved and I still love what I do. And so I think when I was laid off 4 weeks after having my son, I think that it felt like the rug was taken out from under me. And that, I think, and you've all experienced this, like the first few months after having a child, you are not yourself. And there's this like range of emotions where you're elated and so happy and so just filled with love. But then you're also exhausted and feeling overwhelmed, and a lot of the stuff that you guys have talked about. And sleep deprived and exhausted. And just really, I think, assimilating the big change that is becoming a mom. Because although it's a welcome change, it's still a very big change. So I think in the middle of this, I was thrust into this totally unexpected situation. And so I think I learned a lot from that. And I think the article you mentioned, I think, was really written kind of towards the end of that. I think by the time that was written, I had already secured a job, and I had gone through this whole journey. And I think going back to what you guys were talking about feeling like moms who are failing. I mean, I think when I was laid off, I was already feeling like a failure because I was having tremendous issues breastfeeding. And I had a C-section that was definitely not part of my birth plan. So I think I was already feeling a little bit like these were my first 2 big tests of motherhood, right? Like I really wanted to have a natural birth. I was very set on that. And then I wanted to breastfeed for as long as I possibly could. And I was already having, you know, serious challenges with breastfeeding. So I think when my layoff happened, it was kind of like, okay, like shit hit the fan. So now I'm going to have to learn how to roll with the punches. And I think that's exactly what I did. So I think with the breastfeeding, and I know this is there's a lot of opinions on this, on the matter. But I think for me, you know, going through everything I was going through, I was somebody who had suffered from depression in the past. And I've written about that as well. So I knew that when you're someone who's had depression, you are more prone to postpartum depression. And that was something that I was aware of and I had discussed with my doctors even while I was pregnant. So I think for me, I really had to stop stressing myself out so much about the breastfeeding. And I think that's a very personal choice. So I think it just, when the layoff happened, it was just like this feeling kind of in my head all the time, like you're a failure as a mom. And even though, you know, when I was laid off, it very much had to do with the financial aspects of the organization. There was just layoffs organization wide. It's kind of like when a boyfriend dumps you, even if you wanted to dump him already, it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good.
I still got dumped.
Like it doesn't feel good to be rejected ever. And even though, you know, I still have a great relationship with my boss, and she has been a great mentor, I think it still felt like, even though if I had done such a good job, you know, why did I get laid off, you know? And if I'm such a good mom, because, you know, everyone tells you you're doing great, like you're doing fine, like your baby's
everyone
great.
always talks to you about like that, but you never really,
it's hard, but you need to feel like that inside. And I think that's what my year of being at home with my son was about. It was about being able to feel that way. And then I think figuring out how to be this new person that I was, right? Because for a long time, I had defined myself by my career. You know, I was this advocate. I was this person who cared very strongly about these issues. And
right. I mean, your resume is great. Your bio was you've done so much. I mean, you were just like out there. First generation to graduate. You were working in political campaigns. You were just doing nonprofit work. Like, you were just like out there. So walk us a little bit about like through your first days out of giving birth. You had a C-section. Things happened. You were in labor for a long time. It happened. And kind of like walk me through those feelings right after, because I know of a lot of women who've had the same situation. Like, you know, all of a sudden I get my C-section. That was not my birth of choice. And then there's no milk. Yeah. And I know a lot of women who've gone through depression because of that. Yeah. So just walk me through those feelings.
So I think that one of the things that happened to me was that I had a very long labor. I was very tired. One of the things I always like to tell women, and I think you mentioned this and when you told your birth story, is that we really need to make sure that when we're choosing our doctor and when we're choosing our hospital, that we make sure that we're signing up with providers who are very supportive of whatever birth plan we want. And I know it's like, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just like, oh, this is close to me, so I'm going to choose that. I had an HMO. And so I think it's really important that you have your child in an environment that's supportive, because I think that was one of the things that hurt me, is that I was in an environment that was very supportive of women giving birth naturally, but that's like a whole nother show. But I think I had a C-section, and you can't eat after you have a C-section for a few hours. I think it's 12 hours, and then after that it's only solids. I had been in labor for so long. So my son was born on Tuesday.
Only solids or only liquids?
Only liquids, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So my son was born on Tuesday. I had dinner on Sunday night, and then I couldn't have anything solid, I think, till like Thursday. So
you basically started.
So I was basically, and my son was almost 10 pounds. Ugh. So I think that it was very, I mean, I'm not a medical professional, but my speculation is that already set me up, I think. And I was extremely tired. Obviously, when you have a C-section, you have a lot of drugs, and everyone's body reacts differently, but I had a very hard time like kind of getting off and really feeling like I was normal. And then with the incision, when you have a C-section, it's just hard to position your baby. And my partner was helping me position and putting the pillows, but it was just a little bit hard for me because I had this big incision, and he had issues latching. So we went to a lactation consultant. I read all the books, and we had taken classes before. So I think it was one of those things where we all need to be aware that breastfeeding, I know we see these really lovely maternal images, but it's challenging, and it takes a lot of work, and I think it's very valuable work, even though I wasn't able to breastfeed my son as long as I wanted to, or as much as I wanted to, because in the end I ended up I started supplementing just because my son was losing weight, and early on in the few weeks it's very, doctors don't like seeing your child losing any kind of the weight or losing more than 10% of the weight. So I think ultimately I started supplementing, but I was still trying to pump. And I just remember looking at the pump and like seeing how the milk wouldn't come out, because I had imagined like, it's going to come out. And, you hear of these women who are like, oh, I have like an endless supply, and it's just coming out all the time.
Even just thinking of that like makes me want to cry.
Yeah. And so I had so many moments where I cried in front of the breast pump, and it was just, I mean,
it can become like your worst enemy.
Yeah.
And so I think once my layoff happened, I was 4 weeks out. I was already struggling quite a lot. I had to make a decision, right? I think if breastfeeding or your breastfeeding struggles, in my case, are interfering with your ability to bond with your baby, because it does become an obsessive thing. I think, for me, knowing my medical history and knowing that I had just gone through this very severe and stressful event in my life, I said, okay, I was already supplementing, but I decided I was going to be okay with it. And I was going to, focus on my baby and focus on really enjoying him and really taking care of myself, because I had just gone through this very kind of severe and stressful shock. So.
Yeah. And, something else I want to touch on a little bit what you said, because I'm kind of going through that. I mean, I'm very blessed that I'm able to breastfeed, and that's what, I over obsess about it. And I think about those women who by like not by choice, just it's tough to get the supply. It's tough. Shock of a C-section, a shock of a layoff. You're overtired. Like it takes so much out of you.
Yeah.
And then you see all these beautiful pictures on Instagram and Pinterest and Facebook, like, exclusively breastfeeding for 10 months and 2 years.
EPF.
Yeah.
Exclusively breastfeeding.
Yeah. And it's like 2 years going strong. My bonding with my baby is awesome, which is amazing.
Yes,
and I'm
definitely.
not saying
we encourage that.
We totally encourage. I'm all about it. Like, do it. But for those of us who are having such a hard time, it's such a like, and it's like, am I like less of a woman because I can do this? Like I'm going through that right now,
You know what? I was talking to my girlfriend the other day because she just had her baby, Adriana. I was talking to her, and we were talking about exactly the same thing. And she's struggling, and she's super natural, like she had a home birth and all this stuff, And then she said, and I was like, "Do you really think our moms really, for real, didn't have any issues breastfeeding? What is it about us now that makes us have all these issues? Like, why is it I had issues? Like, I would cry in the shower, like asking God, please give me milk. I just want to feed my baby. And I would cry and cry and cry. I would do everything. And I remember, like, I felt pressure by everybody, like, just give her formula, and I was like, no, I want to do this, I want to do this. And I feel so bad, and I would, you feel horrible because that's what you're supposed to do, quote unquote, you know what I mean? So I'm like, what happened? What happened? Like, is it really true that there's women out there that really, really have no issues? Or is it just that, we all had those moments where I could have taken a picture of me and the baby, but nobody knows what's really happening.
Yeah.
Because the more I ask, the more I know that people have issues. A lot of, like, the majority of my friends at Mommy and Me, at least, all of them had issues breastfeeding. All of them, every single one of them. Like, I don't know, people that we know, people have issues breastfeeding. Our friends have issues breastfeeding. My best friend had issues breastfeeding, latching, and this and that. And then I'm starting to wonder, like, is there really people out there that have no issues?
Who are these women?
Who are they?
We need to come on the show.
Who have those, like, oversuppliers? It's like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, can I have some of that?
I read a story the other day on the internet about this lady that unfortunately lost her baby at birth. But she actually, like, kept pumping and giving her milk away for like a year.
Oh, wow.
And then, I'm like, wow, like, how does that even happen?
Woman.
Like, that's amazing. And
bless her soul.
Yeah, for real. And I'm like, I remember I had the same issues both times. Both times I had exactly the same issues with my babies. And it wasn't until like the third month or fourth month that I was like, okay, I got this. This is happening. This is good. And people give up. People give up because it's hard. Because people make it seem like it's a easy thing. So when you get there and you start having struggles, then you're like, I can't do this. It's too much. And they stop. But they don't realize how much work it goes into breastfeeding.
Yeah. And I think, having conversations like this where women are being honest about this, because there is so much shame, right? And I always think, I always think of myself as somebody who's in a privileged position, but I think of women who have to work jobs where, like, no one is accommodating to them being able to go pump, or, they're working and they have to go back to school. And so they're not, as a society, I think it's great that we promote breastfeeding. I don't think in terms of having the accommodations for women who truly want to breastfeed, I don't think we're quite there yet. So I think we need to build more systems of support on a variety of levels so that women can breastfeed and, give them the tools and the information. Because I think you're right. I think it's difficult for more people than we know.
Than we think. Yeah.
And also it's just the stress. And it's sort of like a domino effect, right? Like, you stress about it and then your supply lowers with stress. But, like, I'm stressing because I don't have milk, and the stress causing me to have less milk.
Yeah, and I think a lot of my anxiety, and I think for me when the layoff happened, I think there was an additional anxiety and pressure. So I think it became like a snowball effect where it was just kind of ballooning on each other. And so I think one of the things I took out from my experience is that and I've written about this quite a lot, is that we need to have, maternity leave policies, paternity leave really for parents, that moms are able to, if they want to stay home with their children, they can, that we have, just more support systems for families who are in these like really like precious first few weeks and months when women and families are so fragile and they need all the support they can get. I mean, I was reading that here in the US, a lot of women go back to work about 2 weeks after they have children. And a lot of them, it's not by choice. I mean, if you're like the CEO of Yahoo, like Marissa Mayer, who like built a nursery and went back, I think she took like 7 days off, then kudos to you, but if you're doing it because you feel like you need to make ends meet and go back to work, I just don't think that as a country, we're doing as good of a job as we can with that. And I think that contributes to everything. It contributes to postpartum. It contributes to women not being able to breastfeed. So I think for me, like I said, a lot of this was perspective with the breastfeeding, with my C-section, and ultimately with my layoff. And a lot of it is, how do we deal when the unexpected happened? Because I think we all have unexpected things that happen. So much of this is like, how do you roll with it? And for me, I think the breastfeeding, I mean, it was really hard for me to get over. I mean, even now when I see images, or I think this month is like breastfeeding awareness month, and I see the pictures, and sometimes I'll read the comments, which is a mistake. Never read the comments on articles ever. And it'll say like, oh, women just don't try, or like every woman can breastfeed, they're just not trying, or they just don't know. And I'm like, but I tried. I mean, I tried so hard. You don't understand how hard I tried. So I think, even now as I think about it, because I think we're all trying to do the best that we can. And for me, I still believe that breastfeeding is one of the best things you can do for your children. With that said, I supplemented, which means I gave my son formula along with my breast milk.
There's no shame. I did the same thing.
Yeah, and I would continue to put him on the breast, so we could have that bond.
Yeah.
But frankly, I don't know how much milk was coming out. I stopped doing the pumping because it was messing with my head too much.
Yeah.
And my son is perfectly fine, perfectly healthy, 100% in weight,
of course,
percentile, thriving. But yeah, it was a difficult and challenging time. But
and even sometimes what you said, even if milk wasn't coming out, I think what's beautiful, it's the bond.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like if you're giving him formula, I think my sister had these like things that she would put over her breast, these tubes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where
SNS.
Yeah.
Where
I used those.
Yeah. Where formula would come out. Yeah. And the baby would be latched. And ultimately, that's what you want. You want your child to build that bond with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously you want the nutrients, but yeah, it's hard. But I also want to talk to you about, becoming a stay-at-home mom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you were such a, career girl.
Yeah.
And again, like I was talking about earlier, both of us, my sister and I, we're both very hardworking. We pretty much live at the restaurant. And
you forgot successful. Women.
Thank you. So it's like, I love that part of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what I would be like if I stayed at home.
Mm-hmm.
I envy those that are, that they can by choice.
Mm-hmm.
But like you did it by default, right? And like, how did you do it?
I mean, I think I read a quote earlier in the week that said that sometimes we find our destiny on our way to avoiding it. And I think for me, because I had been so dedicated to my career and so, a lot of travel, kind of go, I found myself, when my partner went to work, I was alone at home with a baby. So I think it forced me to learn how to be still. And it forced me to appreciate the small moments, because I think during my career trajectory, I had gotten a sense that, life can be mapped out. You can't map out your career trajectory. It's full of detours, and you can't map out what's going to happen in your personal life. And I think it really made me reexamine, in a world where nothing is certain, where your job's not certain, like, who am I? Who am I? I'm this new person. I'm a mom. And now I don't have this career that had been such a big part of my identity. So it was a great year for me to explore some of those things and explore what I wanted to do. And what happens after you fail? I was always very afraid of financial insecurity. I was always very afraid of losing my job, which is exactly what happened. So I think it was a great lesson for me. I learned that I didn't need as much money as I thought I did to be happy, that ultimately money doesn't do as much to our happiness levels as we think it does. Right. With that said, I was in a position where I was fortunate enough that I was able to meet my basic needs, and I had a home that, that was being paid for. So everything, we could meet our basic needs. So I was fine in that sense. So I want to give that caveat. But I think that, it was good because it forced me to say, who am I, Betsy? Not Betsy, the advocate, not Betsy the activist. Like, who am I when I'm stripped away of all these things? And it forced me to enjoy my son in a way that maybe I wouldn't have, just because I was always kind of on the go and always never in the moment, always thinking about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I think children do force you to really enjoy the moment. I mean, you were talking about those moments in the morning where I'm sure your email's blowing up, but you're with your son and you're just enjoying that moment. And I think that's the gift that motherhood gave me, and that's the gift of staying home with my son for this time gave me. And then I realized everything I'm able to do, you know, it forced me to really say, I really want to pursue my writing and I don't want to be afraid anymore. I was already rejected. You know, I couldn't breastfeed. I had a C-section that I didn't want. I felt not great about that. I was laid off from what had once been my dream job, and from an organization that I loved and still love to this day. So now I'm not afraid of anything. I can pursue anything. I can do anything. So I think that's when I really started, aside from applying for jobs, I started pitching my work. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, there was a lot of rejection. I'm sure those of you who have been in the job market, you know that it's tough. So I had a lot of rejections. And I think about 6 months into it, I said, okay, I can choose to continue to wallow and feel bad about myself, or I can just keep going. And I think I was rejected from jobs and I was rejected from writing assignments so much that I just kind of became like Teflon, and I was like, you know what? This just means that my next opportunity is right around the corner. And that has been a really liberating, that was very liberating for me. And I mean, I know you guys had Patty Rodriguez a while ago on, and she always uses that hashtag sin miedo. And I always I think about that, you know, like, don't be scared. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Somebody says no to you, you know, what's the worst that can happen? And I think to bring him back to motherhood, we constantly worry about the things we're not doing. You know, now that I work, I'm like, maybe I'm not home with my son enough. Like, I don't, you know, I wasn't home when he took his first steps because I was already working again. And I think we focus so much, there's so much negative talk. And I think I just want to encourage all of us to really one of the things I try to do is I try to do a gratitude journal where I kind of jot down like things that I'm grateful for, because we all have so many things to be grateful for. And I think as moms, we always feel like we could be doing a better job. If we stay home, we wonder, like, should I be working or what should, you know, and if we're working, we're like, what did I miss, or what should I be doing better? Like, I'm always, I should be reading to my son more, or, oh my God, he watched TV, like, it's over. So I think in general, I just want to encourage all of us to have grace with ourselves. And you know, the same way if a girlfriend came to you and told you she's feeling bad about herself or she did something wrong, you would remind her of how amazing she is. We need to do that with ourselves a lot more often.
I love a quote that you put on your
article.
I'm gonna read it to our listeners, and it says, happiness isn't about being happy when everything's going your way, but about being happy regardless of what is happening outside of you. I really, you know, everything you're talking about right now, I've said it a bunch of times that I have a hard time myself believing that about myself. And even though you say, oh, you know, we work so hard and everything, but I think like we're so busy working that we forget about ourselves and about like appreciating ourselves. And I love that quote. And I just wanted to ask you, like, so you feel like you accomplished that? You feel like you're happy regardless of what's happening, or is that like a work in progress? You know, just because a lot of the moms out there need to know, like, okay, you need to I will get there somehow, or, you know, I will make it. I will try to be happy. You know, I love about the gratitude thing, but
yeah, and I think the gratitude journal speaks to the fact that this is something I continue to work on. You know, I said in the beginning that I've suffered from bouts of depression in the past and anxiety as well. And so I think a lot of my journey has been to learn ways to get out of patterns of negative self-talk and to learn to appreciate the moment and be in that moment and not over worry about the future, or, you know, if I messed up at work or I, you know, lost patience with someone, not to berate myself too much for that. So it is something that I work on constantly. I try to do affirmations, and, you know, you got to do whatever works for you. You know, the affirmations and surrounding myself with really positive people is also, like, I think essential to feeling good about yourself.
Of course.
And with that said, also having grace. If you had a bad day, everybody has bad days. You know, if you had a negative emotion or a negative moment with yourself, just allowing yourself that and just knowing that every day is a new opportunity to start over. I definitely have bad days. I definitely have bad moments. But I think overall, I can tell you that in that year that I was home, once I obviously got over the initial shock and I went through this journey with myself, I was at peace in a way that I hadn't been before. And so I think that's a journey that I'm continuously on, which is why I said that in a way I think I needed this layoff to happen to me, to get rid of so much of that fear and anxiety of the future and what's going to happen and how can I control it, because we don't have control over it. And I think there's been a lot of peace for me in knowing and accepting that, and it's made me a better mom, and I think just a more calm individual.
Yeah, and that's another. I know we're pulling quotes out of your article. It's a beautiful article that we are going to link on our website so everybody can read it and know a little bit more about you. Another thing that you said was life with a baby is all about not having control of things. And that's so hard for some of us.
Yeah.
Myself, I'm a total control freak. I mean, I talked about this before, compartmentalizing everything and wanting everything to be in boxes and having a schedule for my baby now, And
you should do that though, listeners. I did that too with my son, and it's very helpful.
Yeah. It's like I try to have as much control I can, but some things like every morning my son has an explosion, and it's like I can't control that. You know what I mean? There's certain things like when you have a baby that you learn to let go of. And I was just wondering, do you find other ways of getting control of things around life? Now you have a baby. Like I said, the schedule thing was kind of my way of doing that. But do you have other things that you kind of try to get
things I need to have control over?
Yeah.
One of the things I've done, because life with a baby gets so hectic, is that I've been making concrete efforts, and I say efforts to have some time for myself in the morning before the baby gets up, so I can really plan my day, have my coffee, go through my to-do list or my intention list. I like to think of it that way.
Oh, I love
That's great.
So
That's
so it doesn't sound like annoying errands. It's like an intention, this is what I'm gonna accomplish today.
That's really
that's
cool.
really cool. Yeah, that's good.
So I like to think of it that way and have that time for myself in the morning. It's a process because I'm by nature a night owl. So before I had the baby, my partner Josh and I, we were up till 2 a.m. like crazy people, talking or doing whatever or out and about. So it's been difficult for me to get accustomed to waking up early, but that's what's helped for me is to have those guaranteed moments to myself. So we've been trying actually this week to wake up at 6 a.m. every day, which is an hour normally than we would have to get up. So we have that time to plan our day, drink our coffee, go through our to-do list and our intention list and figure out kind of what our day is going to look like. And I think with the baby, same thing. My son has a set bedtime, and that's been the case pretty much when he was 8 weeks old. I started kind of getting him towards the bedtime routine where we do bath, book, and before it was bottle, and now it's his sippy cup, and then it's time for bed, because then we know we have that time, and I have that time, especially because I have a job and I have my writing assignments that I work on in the evenings as well, and I have a pretty busy full-time job. So I think it's really about and moms have been doing this forever. I think of my mom who would cook, clean, and work. So we know it's about getting the most out of the day. And so that's the way I try to feel like I'm a little bit more in control.
Yeah. And that's why I've also really having the schedule, just because I know what time he gets up, what time he naps, what time he goes to sleep. And it works great on the weekends too, that, we're together all day. I know, okay, from this time for that time, I have that time to do this. Him going to sleep at 7, I know that I have that time, from 7 to 10, because I go to sleep at 10, because I do have to wake up at 6 the next morning, to do all this stuff and go to work. Those 3 hours are my time,
Yeah.
And then your husband gets home, and that's a whole other.
Yeah, you want to talk to him, and you want, yeah. And so, my partner and I, Josh, we also have a set date night, which is Wednesday nights. So my mom stays with the baby, and we go and we have that time, and then as you can see, I'm obviously a big scheduler still, so still a little bit of a control freak, but in a totally different way. And we also have a set meeting where we talk about budget and money and kind of like if we're planning a vacation.
Oh, dang, Betsy.
So yeah, I like he gets like Google Calendar requests from me, and it's like this meeting and that meeting and talk about this, because that's the way I try to be as efficient as I can with my time. Because when I'm with the baby, I try to be solely about the baby, and it's hard. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect.
So
I'm always
much to learn from
great.
you.
I'm always trying different things to see what sticks and what habits work best for us.
Oh my God. Well, we'll be right back.
Thank you.
This week's Super Mama is brought to you by
I love micheladas.
ilovemicheladas.com.
I love micheladas.com.
Your one-stop shop for the best michelada mix ever. It's the easiest thing, you guys. All you have to do is open the bottle, pour it on your cup, like that, huh? Pour it on your cup. open your beer,
Glug, 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 glug.
and just drink it. It's that easy. No more limes, no more lemons, no more sauces and spices. Nope.
None of that. Just come and get it.
Just the most delicious mix in a bottle. Don't forget to visit ilovemicheladas.com and plug in Super Mamás on the checkout page and receive your sweet discount.
We're back.
We're back.
It was a lot of good information. Great.
Thank you so
great.
much,
Thank
Betsy.
you.
That was so great.
Thank you.
I feel like you already gave us so many tips.
I know. I know.
So many tips. We should just move on to picks. Okay, so let's move to our tip or pick of the week.
I actually have a tip.
Okay, go for it.
So my tip, talking about, trying to organize your home and, making the best out of the day. I have recently, and I think I talked a little bit about on the podcast, I got a calendar, a big calendar, where I put, I suggest you get like a colorful one, like kid-friendly one, because they'll be more, attracted to it. And I put there, since the beginning of the month, I sit down with my daughter and I put the activities with little drawings or stickers or things like that. Like, okay, this day this is going to happen. This day this is going to happen. Like, I put our trip to Disneyland there since the beginning of the month, or like swimming classes or trip to Mexico or this or that,
Right.
So every day we look at it, or every other day we look at it, and she knows exactly what's going on. And I think it's easier for me to like visualize it.
Yeah.
And stick to it, you know what I mean, to the whatever activities I put there, like, and then that way whoever's walking around the kitchen can see what's going on that day. And I think that's worked great. And also for her, because now she's learning the days and the weeks and Sundays these happen and blah blah blah, all of that. So I think it has worked great for me. I hope it works for you guys too.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. I'm gonna do that once he realizes what a calendar is.
Well, not for you and your husband or something.
Yeah. Put my husband on a calendar.
Put him on a calendar.
Betsy?
So I know I talked a little bit about my son's set bedtime. So I want to tell you guys about a book I read when I was pregnant that talked a little bit about the importance of healthy sleep habits in young babies, and why a bedtime is important, and why you can and establish that early on if you'd like.
Oh, nice.
And the book is called Healthy Sleep Habits, Happy Child. So that's a book I read when I was pregnant that kind of helped introduce me a little bit to that concept, and it had a lot of good and helpful tips. So that's one. And then my pick is Wash with Water, which is a baby body wash and shampoo that I started using a while ago with my son. That's like vegan, cruelty free, and he used to get these dry patches of skin. And once we started using that,
what's it called again?
It's called Wash with Water.
Wow.
And it smells delicious. They have a few different scents, and it smells delicious. And like I said, it's I try to use clean products or cruelty free products as much as I can with him.
Mm-hmm.
And so Wash with Water is my pick.
Nice.
Thank you. My daughter has that eczema, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that because it's hard. Yeah,
It helped.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
great. Thank you. And on the book,
Mm-hmm.
is that only for like very little kids, or like could I still use it for my?
I think it focuses on newborns and
okay.
kind of, but yeah.
All right.
You need to find something for an older
know.
child.
For my 1-year-old.
Oh,
Almost
she's still
1
a
year.
baby.
Yeah, she's still a baby. I thought you
You
meant for
can
your
s-
4-year-old. Yeah, 3-year-old. I think, yeah.
I think you
Okay,
can.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you know,
She's still a baby.
almost not a baby.
So I have a pig, of course. I
What
always
did
have
you
a
buy
pig.
this week?
No, I didn't buy this week, but I bought it before, and we were talking about like, you know, being organized and doing all these things, and I love these diaper bag organizers that I have.
Oh, yeah.
They call it Sugar Snap.
I love those too.
I know. I gifted you some.
Yes.
They
They're
call
the best thing.
Yeah, the Sugar Snap files. So it's basically a filing
Files.
system for your diaper bag.
Uh-huh. That would be great for you too.
Yeah, because it's like crazy. Like, you know, when I had the whole diaper bag situation, I was trying to figure out what diaper bag to buy, one, and like how to organize it. Like, I watched so many YouTube videos on how to organize your diaper bag.
We should have a whole episode of all the YouTube videos you watch while you were on maternity
Yeah, when I was
leave.
in maternity leave.
And how hard it is to
No, I
pick
was
these
pregnant.
things.
Yeah. So I found these Sugar Snap files, and they're all labeled. They say
Mhm.
like diaper, like wipes and diapes. They say
Mhm.
like shirts and socks, me and mine, and the other one that has like
Lotions
and
and
potions.
Mommy things. I
Mom,
think.
yeah, mom. So it's like wonderful. So when you're like
Mhm,
in the
mhm.
bag, you kind of just look for the bag, like a filing system. You pull it out, and that's exactly where it is,
Yep.
and you know where everything is, and you just don't stuff everything in there.
Mhm. And they fit so much stuff in them.
Oh my God!
Well,
Yeah.
The great thing is like, okay, that's my. I'll join in your pick
Okay.
because you put so much stuff within the little bags, and you put a lot of bags in your diaper bag.
Yeah.
I fit so much more stuff. My husband hates this, but I put so much more stuff in my diaper bag now than I ever did before I had him. So thank you, Bricia, for giving me that.
Thank you for allowing me to put more stuff. I put less. I mean, I feel like it's like awesome. I love them, and we'll post a picture of everything on
Mhm.
Instagram. So yeah, that's your picks and tips of the week. So Betsy, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies, for
Just-
having me.
Yeah, and want to remind everybody that we have a hotline.
We do have
So
a
you guys,
hotline.
please don't forget to call us. The phone number is 424-326-3707. Again, 424-326-3707. And we actually have a
call.
voicemail. So let's hear our inbox.
Hi, my name is Liz. I just heard your podcast on bilingual, and that is so true. I spent the first 3 years of my life in Mexico, and I can honestly say that my Spanish is much better than my two sisters who grew up exclusively in the United States. You guys are great. I love your podcast, and I'm following you guys on Instagram. I can hardly wait till today to hear your new podcast. I can hardly wait till next Tuesday. Thanks, guys.
Aw, that was
Thank
so
you
nice.
so much.
Thank you, Liz, for calling.
Thank you for calling.
I guess you were talking about the bilingual episode
bilingual
that we had.
episode.
That
We had a lot of good
we had
feedback from
such
that
great
one.
feedback from that one. I think we should have another one soon
Definitely.
and
We
talk a
should.
little more about more tips and things that we can do to make our kids.
Yes.
Well, if you guys have any
Bilingual.
additional questions, let us know. Call
Yeah.
us up.
Call us up, leave a message,
Send us a message on Facebook,
which is /Super Mamás Podcast, or Instagram,
_ Super Mamás.
and their website, supermamaspodcast.com. You guys, please don't forget to subscribe on iTunes. Please rate us. Please rate us. That
Good
we're gonna-
reviews, please.
Good reviews. It's going to help us so much. So
Yeah.
please. Once again, Betsy, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, Betsy.
Oh my God, I'm so inspired.
I am.
I'm
gonna go home
inspired
and
by you
organize.
all too, and thank you so much. This
Aw.
is great.
Thank you.
I echo the sentiments of the caller. I look forward to every single episode too.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
I
again.
know. every time we're like, we're so sentimental because we're moms. Like every time somebody tells us that, we're like, oh,
And we start crying.
we cry. We literally cry.
I'm such a crybaby now. Okay, guys, we're checking off. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for joining us once again. We'll
Thank you,
see you next
guys.
week.
See you next week.
Super Mamás.
Super
flying off.
Mamás.
Super
Bye.
Mamás.